Respond, not react, is the topic of this week's video. If someone had taught me these tips earlier on in life, I would have been ever so grateful, because I'm quite a reactive person. It's just who I am. I'm very fiery and I react. And then I calm down and then regret washes over me in the way that I reacted. So I would have really personally benefited from this. And that's why I wanted to share these tips with you guys, because it takes practice and it takes time. And at the end of the day, we're still human. So having said this, it doesn't mean that by knowing these tips, each and every time someone triggers you or throws shade at you, that you could hold your cool, keep a straight face and not react. But knowing these tips and making yourself aware of them will then help you practice it and become less reactive and more responsive. If you haven't been to my page, welcome. I'm Hamasa. I look at personal development as well as mental and emotional well-being and just day-to-day issues. Please do subscribe to my page so that you're up to date with all my content. And welcome if you're new here. So I wanted to discuss this because, like I said, I myself have been guilty of this, and I feel like it'll really benefit a lot of people to be able to take these tips and try and apply them, and then see if it kind of just makes you feel better and you get different results from not being so reactive. But first things first, let's identify what responding is and what reacting is. So reactions are very knee-jerk, very instantaneous, comes from a place of anger. Someone's triggered you, someone said something that's really annoyed you, and you are reacting to that. So it's all in your face, all rushed, not thought through. And it doesn't necessarily always mean that is the right way, or in fact it's usually the wrong way of responding to a situation, because it could be part of projection, it could be something that you're holding on is your wound instead of their problem, and it just gets very messy and complicated. So reactions are not good. On the other hand, a response is conscious reaction, basically. So it's you being present in the moment, being objective about the situation, instead of allowing your thoughts and stories take over, taking it for what it is, taking a moment, understanding the whole concept, and then consciously answering. Now, to say that this is the way to live and to be is very unrealistic, because at the end of the day, we're all humans. And even knowing all these tips, it doesn't mean that we can apply it and maintain it at all times. So just because you may have a slight relapse and get a bit reactive in a certain situation over something that's really triggered you, that you've messed it all up and what's the point? That's not the case. With things like this, it takes years of practice, of application, and understanding why you react the way you react, and then reteaching your brain to think differently, to think from a different area of your brain. So that's why it's important to know them, practice them when you can, and if you have a little relapse, don't be so hard on yourself, forgive yourself for that. And my first tip, when someone really triggers you and you're really, really annoyed, is to change your physiological state, because taking a step back and realizing when your blood's literally bubbling and your stomach's going funny and you're bursting to say your piece, you know that something's coming up for you. Like someone's pressed a button and it's a trigger, because you feel the physiological side effects of that. And when you start feeling that, understand that you need to change your environment and how your body is physically feeling. So take a step back, give yourself a minute to digest in what's going on in your head and what's going on in your body. When something triggers us, our knee-jerk reaction is to react. It's just how it is. Now, understanding that this is happening to you because it's human behavior is kind of you being on autopilot and not really making a conscious choice to take control of yourself, of your emotions, and of the situation. What happens to me when I have a reaction is that I react, I then calm down, And then I feel this wave of guilt and this wave of shame in the way I reacted for a number of reasons. One of them being, why did I allow this person to have so much control over my emotions? Why did I allow this individual to bring out the worst side in me or the bad in me? I shouldn't have allowed that. The second thing is, there was no need for that reaction because I may have misunderstood. I may have taken things out of context because I am projecting my trauma and my trigger now. So it's not really about the situation. So I come with my baggage and I didn't really take accountability or manage to detach that from the given situation. Next thing is that I didn't actually get to say what I wanted to say because my reaction was out of anger. Now, had I responded, I would have had a choice in the things that I want to say back in response to what's happening or what's been said. But because I reacted, I made a scene, I said my piece, I kicked up a fuss, I didn't actually make the point I wanted to make. So that's what happens when you react. And the first thing, like I said, is to give yourself and change your physiological state. Give yourself a minute. If you get a text that you're really angry and start typing, angry girl typing, then put your phone down, facing down, and give yourself a couple minutes. That's a lot easier said than done, because when you're angry, having that pause really takes a lot of self-control. But like I said, it doesn't have to happen overnight. The minute you're aware that you're bubbling up and you're going to start reacting, give yourself a minute and pause and breathe. My next tip for you guys would be to be objective about the situation. I know I mentioned this in my first point, but I just want to go a little bit deeper into that. That if you get that text message that it's really triggered you and annoyed you, instead of attaching your own traumas and stories and thoughts and things that you're projecting, like, oh my God, I feel so disrespected, how dare they bring this up, this is something that really bothers me, those are your versions of the situation and stories. You're not taking it for what this friend has said in the message. Try and detach yourself from the situation and take a step back so that you can observe it from an outsider's point of view. Because when you attach your own stories and traumas to it, you're not now looking at the situation at hand or what the person has a problem with. You're looking at your own insecurities and sort of bringing all of that into it. So be able to differentiate between your thoughts and what's actually happening. Having said that, I'm not here to dismiss your thoughts. Your thoughts are very real and they're there, but they're not true. It doesn't mean that every time someone says something to you is to disrespect you or trigger your old wounds, anything like that. That's your truth. That's your reality, but it doesn't mean that it's the truth in this particular situation. So trying to stay objective is incredibly difficult, but try and practice that. My next tip is to understand this deeper, again, a little more deeper, is that why are these things triggering you? So do some self-reflection. This is not the same thing as ruminating, which is what my previous video was on. Ruminating is just thinking out loud and asking yourself 101 questions as to why you did what you did or why you didn't do what you didn't do. That's rumination. We don't want rumination, we want reflection. When you reflect, you don't ask yourself 100 whys, you look for answers. So you dig deeper. Once you've calmed down, you're in a different mental state and you can look at the situation. It's like, hold on, but why did that annoy me so much? Why is it that if someone was to call me stupid, I care so much? I know my value and worth. I know I'm not stupid. So why do I care so much that that person called me stupid as a passing comment? Why am I so triggered? Look into that. But don't ruminate over it. Just reflect and analyze, find the answers. My next point is to concentrate on your breathing. Again, might sound like a bit of faff, but because we want to make ourselves aware of our physiological state and to get out of our thoughts, because now we're running away with our stories, we want to bring ourselves back to the present moment and give ourselves something else to concentrate on, to focus on. So breathing and centering yourself is what will give you that space and also break your concentration and your anger. So put the phone away, turn it face down, breathe, and just bring yourself back to the moment. Try and be mindful of what's happening to you. And once you've refocused, then you have the space to make a choice of how you want to respond to this. Do you want to engage? Sometimes it's not even worth engaging, because no matter how much you try and convince someone of something, if they're committed to misunderstanding you, they will continue to misunderstand you regardless of how many explanations and responses you give. So then you have the option to be like, you know what, this person always tries to trigger me, and at this moment I just don't want to even acknowledge it, react to it, respond to it. I'm not going to do anything, because you have that choice. You've given yourself that. And at times when you really want to explain or back your point, then you can do that coherently when it makes sense, instead of a reaction where you've missed the point you wanted to make. So breathing and focusing on your breath is important to bring your attention back to the present moment, to give you the space to make a choice. And my last point would be, like I said repeatedly throughout this video, because I myself am so guilty of doing this all the time, being the reactive, fiery Sagittarius that I am. If you understand astrology, 3 of my main signs are fire signs. It's just in me, all in all, to be very reactive. So it's taken me a very long time to understand and kind of detach myself from situations that really trigger me and not to react. I still slip up all the time, but I'm working on it and I'm aware of my slip ups. So this is what I wanted to make my last point be, that even if you do slip up and you do go back to what you used to, it's okay, because being aware is the first step. If you don't know you're doing that, you can never start working on it. But the minute that you realize that this is what's happening and I'm becoming aware of it, then you can take accountability and you can take responsibility and ownership of your emotions, of your projections, of your traumas, and where you're going wrong, and why you're allowing someone else to have such control and power over your emotions and ruin your day. Who the hell are they? Why are you allowing them to take that much headspace and ruin you or trigger you to that extent? So I hope that you guys found this video helpful, and that you can practice this, and even if you do fall back into it, it doesn't matter. It's all a journey and it's all a learning curve. So if you have, please do subscribe to my page, like and comment on this video, and please do share this with anyone that you may think could use this. I look forward to seeing you here again next week, and thank you so much for watching. Mwah.